moved this candle so you could actually see it, and then I immediately shifted positions again, and so now you cannot see it yet again. Hi people, welcome to I Read Books in October, and I'm going to tell you about them. I guess that is the title of the video now. I just decided. So in October, I had a TBR of 5 books because I was like trying to keep it chill, trying not to freak myself out. I also had my seasonal TBR, my fall TBR that I was trying to get through. I keep thinking of it as my autumn TBR, but I never say autumn. I love the way autumn sounds, but then I always forget to say it like in everyday conversation, or I'll think fall instead of autumn because autumn just sounds prettier, but I never say it. I think even in my notebook it's my fall TBR, not my autumn TBR. Yeah, it's my fall TBR. Also, I need to update this. I have quite a lot of these books read. So I read 4 out of my TBR this month, and there was one I started skimming through and then I decided I didn't want to read the rest of it. This month I read 14 books and my year total is 188 books, which, keep in mind, I can listen to audiobooks while I'm at work, and so about half of the total actually on not Spotify, Storygraph. You can mark what book you read in what kind of style. So I think I have like 14% Kindle, 44% physical, and then like 45% listening. It goes around the same. So it's about half of what I read is an audiobook, which is what I read at work. So without a work that I can listen to audiobooks, I would not read this many books in a year. So the first book that I read this month was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This one I think I listened to as an audiobook because it was almost out of my Spotify listening hours. So I think I like had some from the month before, so I listened to this book, and then I think I had enough to listen to part of the next one, and then I finished listening to it with the rest of my Spotify hours because this was over like the 3 days where they renewed. That's, you know, the chaotic way I use my Spotify listening hours. I think I read the last one partially as an audiobook and partially as a physical book because my Spotify hours ended, and so I had to get the physical book. But I read the first one and I rated it 4 stars. This one does have some mentions of sex and some crude language. I don't remember if it has swearing exactly, but I know it does have crude language. But this book was so cute. Rachel Catherine is one of my favorite YouTubers, but also booktubers out there, and she loves this series. It is like her favorite series, and she has said so many times that she really enjoys the series. And so now that all of them were out, I was like, oh, I should read them. I really, really liked it. Basically, kind of the premise, I'll just give you the premise of the first book and not give you the summary of the whole series, obviously. The premise of the first book is that Emily Wilde is a researcher, like a field researcher. She likes to research fairies, and she's an academic, so she likes to figure out how they work. And so this book is basically the journal entries that she wrote during this time going to, I can't remember exactly where it is. I think it's like New Zealand is what they call it, but in my brain it's like the northern tip of Europe, so like Greenland or something like that, where there is a ton of cold almost all the time, lots of snow. That's the word I was thinking of. So it follows her as she journeys there to figure out about the folk, the fairies that live in the area, and then her research person who also works with her at the school. I'm sorry, my glasses are they're so, what is it called? Reflective today. We're gonna keep them off. Her research partner person who also works at the same university as she does and who also does field research follows her there because he wants to learn about the folk also. And so she's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he's here. He always fakes his work. I know this. He's driving me crazy. I don't want him here. And then it just follows like this like story. I have to say, Rachel Catherine describes it as a cozy fantasy, so it doesn't have much of a plot. It does have a plot, but it might just be like the kind of plot I really like. I don't like ones that are like bang, 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 bang plot. And this one does have a lot of like things included that aren't necessarily plot focused, but they do a lot to establish the world and the vibes of the world. And it was really cute. I really liked the series, although keep in mind it is not a completely clean series. Oh my goodness. I might need to put my glasses back on. I'm a little bit sick right now, so my head is kind of hurting and my body is kind of tired. So I think I need my glasses so my eyes can actually focus today. So sorry about the glare. So anyway, that's Emily Wilde. The second book I read this month was Autumn Collection by a bunch of different authors, but it includes Heather Horrock, Sarah M. Eden, and some more people. There was like 5 or 6 people in this little short story anthology. I got this one just on Kindle because it was free. It was cute. It was fun to read. It wasn't anything serious. It was not a big, important thing. I liked Sarah M. Eden's little short story in it. It was cute. I don't know how to explain this one. I guess I can give you the vibe of the anthology, because every anthology kind of has a defining characteristic. So this one was like stories that take place in autumn, but they're also a mystery. And so all of them had mystery to some extent or other. Sarah Meaden's was so chill, so cute. The first one included a crazy stalker person who tried to steal someone's dog. That was a wild story. I go into detail as to why I am confused with that short story in one of my earlier vlogs. But the other ones in the book weren't like, none of them were life-changing. There was a couple that I thought were interesting stories, but some of them was just like, cool. So anyway, I always like reading anthologies, short story anthologies. They're just fun, and they help me discover authors that I might not read otherwise. So there's a couple I've discovered through here that I have liked their writing. I don't think I've even gone and read their books yet, but there are a couple that I was like, oh, I really like this one. Then I picked up a book that was, I don't even think this was on a TBR. It was just a book that I wanted to read this month. Yeah, I think it was on like last month's TBR. I think there was 2 books that I read that were on last month's TBR, because I was kind of in a slump for like half the month. I feel like I'm out of it more now. I want to read books, but I was kind of in a slump. Anyway, I wanted to read Romeo and Juliet last month, and I just didn't get to it, but I read it this month, and I rated it 5 stars because it is a classic. But keep in mind, these teenagers are insufferable. Like, he knows how to write people that are real, and these are real, insufferable teenagers. They drove me insane. I was kind of going crazy while I was reading this book, because I was like, these teenagers are so dumb. Why are they making these dumb decisions? Everyone knows the plot of Romeo and Juliet. If you don't, then it is the plot of West Side Story, High School Musical. It follows 2 teenagers whose families are hating each other, and they fall in love, but they can't be in love because their families hate each other. 5 stars because it's a classic, and it was written very well. But my goodness, Romeo and Juliet I don't think is going to be my favorite one of Shakespeare's plays. I do want to read a couple more of his plays at some point in my life, but I don't think this is going to be my favorite one of his plays, purely because I really didn't like the main characters. Any of the characters. They were all annoying, but it was good. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. Alright, then I listened to Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Now, backstory as to why I chose to read this book, because it is an interesting backstory. I read the Powerless series earlier this year, and I did really, really like the first book, like everyone in the world. Second book, I was like, it's fine. Third book, horrible. Hated it. It was so bad. I made a video on it that might be unnecessarily harsh looking back, but it was just annoying. It was so annoying to have these characters I liked so much have these horrible things that happened to them in the last book, and it's not even like, oh, and it's so sad because these sad things happen. It's like, no. The author chose to put them in the worst, dumbest situation she possibly could, and it's out of nowhere. Like, there was no foreshadowing for it anywhere in the series, and it drove me crazy because I was like, was I supposed to care about this person? I did care about this person. Was I not supposed to care? It was crazy. I didn't like that series. I watched another YouTuber talk about how Red Queen and Powerless are the same book, because Powerless was a ripoff of Red Queen, and that allegedly, but there are a lot of similarities between the 2 books, and as Powerless was written after Red Queen, if anyone was copying someone else, it would be Powerless copying Red Queen. So I decided to read Red Queen and see for myself, and yes, they are very similar, but I have to say they are separate books. But Powerless is very, very, very much just the themes and the plots and ideas of this slightly twisted. I liked the first book of Red Queen. I'm not really in a dystopian mood, so I don't know if I'm going to continue the series, but I did like the first one, and I wanted to give Victoria Aveyard some love because she's been having nothing but a horrible time since Powerless came out, so that's why I read that book. I need to move my camera a little bit. I'm not in the center of the frame. Then I read the second book in the Emily Wilde's series. I think what I can tell you is they now go to a different area to look at folk, and I can't tell you anything else because it's the second book in the series, but this one was really cute. I liked it even better than the first one. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I really liked the subtle romance. I know people say that this is not a romance book. This is my favorite kind of romance book, where it's really subtle. You have to kind of pay attention to find the romance. It is so fun to read, and I really like the plots in these books. The last one, I do enjoy the plot, but it worried me for about half the book, and also I listened to half the book and I read half the book, and that always like throws off my brain from connecting to the characters as well, because if I read the whole book I connect really well, if I listen to the whole book I connect really well, but because I was listening to the whole series and I heard the character's voice as the audiobook voice, I couldn't connect as well to the second half of the third book because it it just felt wrong to be reading it, I guess. So I think if I reread it, I would probably even rate it higher. But I rated the third book 4.75 stars. And then I think I told you I rated the second one 4.5 stars. Just saying, they do have some sex mentions. They don't have sex scenes, but they do have mentions of it in those two books. And there's swearing, gore, violence. I think there's even gore and violence in the first one too. So just keep in mind. Now we read this horrible book, Better Off Friends by Elizabeth Hewlberg. I rated this 0.5 stars because there was one good scene that I did actually really enjoy. But other than that, I didn't like this book. I read 2 books by her this year. I don't really recommend these books. I haven't read the rest of her work, so I can't speak for that, but I don't recommend the 2 books I read this year. I don't think I'm going to read any more of her. Oh, I should give you the summary of this book. I just realized I forget to do that for one book, at least in every video, and then while I'm editing, I'm like, well, guess I didn't give a summary of that book. But this one follows, as you might think by the title, 2 people who are friends that think they are better off friends and they shouldn't get together. The reason why this drove me insane was because, number one, first thing off the bat, like within the first 20 pages, the male main character makes some really dumb comments about another girl's, like his best friend's anatomy. That really annoyed me, like straight off the bat. And then also the girl, her mom died, and that is her whole personality. Like, she doesn't have a single other characteristic other than just constant grief that her mom died and using that as her excuse for everything. And it kind of just drives me crazy. The characters were so one-dimensional. They made dumb decisions that made no sense. The plot was put in there to make it so the characters had to do dumb decisions. I really didn't like this book. And it also has a random swear word in the middle of it. Like, there was no swearing at all, and I'm like, well, at least it's clean. It's not. That's my rating of this book. Then I read The Secret of the India Orchid. I kept looking at this and thinking it was Indian Orchard or Indian Ocean or something. This is by Nancy Campbell Allen. I really, really, really liked this up until the halfway point, basically. And then there's this one scene that if it had gone a different direction, I would have been fine with the rest of this book. But because this one scene went one way, I was really annoyed. And then I was also really annoyed because I just got off of reading Better Off Friends, and so I was kind of grumpy with the whole world because I had wasted my time reading this dumb book. I think if I had read this at a different time in the month, I think I would have been more okay with it. I probably would have rated it like 4 stars. But as it was, I rated it 3.75 stars because I was a little grumpy with the world. So basically, the plot of this book is a guy really likes a girl. This is in like, I think slightly after Regency era England, so they have like steamboats and there's coal and that sort of stuff. A guy really likes a girl and he's going to ask her brother if he can court the girl. But he then gets messaged by his boss basically in the army, and he was a spy for like the army, and his boss is like, hey, there's this really important document that has disappeared, and I need you to get it because no one else can do it, and if you don't get it, a lot of people are going to be in trouble because there's like everyone's information on this document. And so he's like, you're kidding me, right? Do I have to? And he's like, yes, you have to. And so he has to pretend that he doesn't like the girl to, you know, keep her safe, because if anyone finds out that he's a spy and connects her to him, then it would put her in danger. So he has to pretend he doesn't like her anymore, and he has to leave. 2 years later, she is on a boat to India because she's like, I cannot be in London anymore. I can't be around all these reminders of this guy. And she gets to India and she finds out that the guy's actually in India. And so it follows him trying to get this thing back, and it's this whole thing. I have to say, my one qualm about the plot in general, I was fine with most of the plot actually. The plot wasn't the annoying thing, is that it has been 2 years and he still has not found this document. And when you hear about all the things he did to get the document, it doesn't feel like enough things to fill up 2 years. So to me, it would make more sense if it was 6 months later, maybe. So in my head, this takes place 6 months later. But once she gets to India, she sees the guy, and then there's this whole plot that happens. I have to say there's this one, I was a little bit more annoyed about it in my reading video where I talked about it, but there's this one like really big suffragette plot before suffragettes were a thing. Like this whole women empowerment, women can do whatever they want with their lives. And I'm like, okay, sure. Do whatever you want with your life. I'm a woman. I'm grateful for my rights. It's not going to happen in this time, this period. And it's okay if it's like, some plots are fine, where it's like a single girl who's like, all right, I'm going to stand against the patriarchy, and I'm going to do this one thing that is good for me. And everyone's like, yeah, go girl. This one is like, she's trying to get every single girl she meets to be a suffragette, basically. And like, throw off the patriarchy and do all the stuff that she wants to do and live for herself. And I'm like, girl, that's not gonna work in this time period. The guys don't care. Like, you literally do not have the right to own property. Like, how do you think this is good? Anyway, I just feel like that is misplaced in this book specifically, although she does have a very good book, like a good series where women do have a lot of rights, and it is around the same time period, but it's because it's steampunk, so like it makes more sense. Anyway, to some of the people that might not be a problem, but for me it is, because it's kind of, it doesn't make sense with the time period, I guess, and I'm kind of a stickler for that sometimes. The next book I read this month was a book I cannot find at the moment. It was Netherwood by Jane Sanderson, and let me just say I rated this 0.75 stars. And as I have thought about this more, I have been confused even more by the way it was written. Keep in mind, this is just a book I picked up from DI because it has the same last name as me. So I was like, sure, I'll read another book by Sanderson. Why not? We Sandersons stick together. This was written so bizarrely. Like, I was looking up reviews. I'm like, why does this have as good of a rating as it has? It had like 3.75 stars or something like that, which isn't super high, but it like wasn't horrible. Apparently people just like the slow pacing weirdness of this book. Where in some other books, I don't mind the slow pacing, but this book was trying to be written as if it was in that time period, and a lot of people compared it to Downton Abbey, which I haven't watched Downton Abbey, so maybe if I had, I would have understood a little bit more. But it has this whole like woman who's happily married, and her husband is a coal miner, and then there's a coal accident and he dies, and it follows her having to make a bakery. And I just spoiled like a good portion of the book, but it was only this far in. But that was 90 pages. 90 pages! The setup of this book takes over 100 pages. It's crazy. And then you only meet the love interest in the last this much. Yeah, this is the page where she meets the love interest. This much of the book. That's where you get to meet the love interest. So you read this much of the book where you don't really care. You're like, apparently it's all set up for a future series. Like there is a sequel, but I'm not going to read the sequel because I didn't care about the characters that it left their endings cliffhangers. Crazy book. It also includes sex, swearing, which happened like halfway through the book too. Like it was completely clean up till then. The sex stuff takes place in the last, like, you know, the love interest part that I showed you takes place into there. Makes no sense. It's completely out of the blue. It has brutal deaths, like descriptions of very brutal deaths, and also it's just boring. So there you go. Then I read Mercury Rain Ghost Broker by Sarah Ameden. This is the first book in the Mercury Rain series. I was gonna say Mercury Rain detective series, but that is not true. It is not a detective series. I rated this one 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I really like this series so far. I've read the first 2 books. I guess I'll talk about both of them right now, because you don't have them. I rated this one 4.75 stars. I would have rated it a little bit higher if I'd understood the plot a little bit more, but I think that was my own problem because I was reading it quickly because I keep thinking, oh, it's fast-paced, but you actually kind of do need to pay attention to them. But I really like the series so far. I like Mercury Rain. I like the girl, Penelope or whatever her name is. Miss Huddleston. Yeah, Miss Huddleston. I like her. I like a lot of the things. I think my one problem is I don't think she's written, Sarah Ameden, she hasn't written a lot of sci-fi or fantasy, and so her rules aren't as clearly defined as I personally am used to, but that is totally fine. That is just a personal preference. It is written very well, and I like the way it's being set up. I can tell you like the first 4 pages of this book, because if I tell you anymore, I'm going to spoil so much of the book, but it follows Mercury Rain, who is a ghost broker. So in this world, everyone is born with a ghost. Or they're not born with a ghost. However many ghosts you're born with is the amount of ghosts you have. So most people just have 1 ghost, but some people are born with 2 ghosts or 3 or 4, and those people can be ghost brokers if they want to. They can help people trade their ghosts for other ghosts, because in this time period, this is like Regency London, if you have a ghost, you have social cachet, and so the most important people have the coolest ghosts. And so every year as the fashions change, the fashions and ghosts change. So this year, the ghosts that were in fashion were very judgmental ghosts. People really wanted judgmental ghosts. And so he's helping this lady who comes with her daughter, and they want to change their ghost for a judgmental ghost. And then another guy is also there who wants to change his ghost for a judgmental ghost, and he's trying to make a decision. So it follows this like blending that happens, and there's a mystery, but I don't want to spoil it. And it's really cute. I really like it. Sarah Ameden is one of my favorite authors. She's so sweet and lovely, and I just love her books so much, and I'm so excited for the rest of the series. I don't know when they're coming out, but these 2 came out within like 3 weeks of each other. So hopefully they come out soon, because I really like it. I'm excited to read more of the series. All right, then I read Pivot Point and Split Second. I keep thinking that it's Split Second and Pivot Point, but no, Pivot Point is the first one. For some reason in my brain, Split Second is the first book, but it is not. Pivot Point, that is the first book. These are both by Casey West. I've read a lot of her books this year, reread a lot of them, and I still like her writing. I keep thinking I'm gonna reach a time where I don't like her writing anymore, but I think she just writes good books. They are YA, but they're cute. This one involves a society where people have evolved to have higher brains than other people, and they have mental superpowers. So the girl in this book, she can, I don't remember what they call her power, but she can basically see the possibilities at a decision point in her life. She can see whether it's one way or the other way, and she can decide which one she wants to go down. She can see the consequences of her actions. It's her seeing the decisions of this really pivotal point in her life. She can see whether she wants to do this or do that. She wants to go live in the normal world with people who don't have superpowers, or stay living in the compound. And it is a really interesting setup. I remember I read this when I was a teenager for the first time, and I remember really liking it then. I think I rated them 5 stars, but now I knocked them down a little bit just because I have, you know, different taste in books, which is okay. So I rated this one 4 stars, and I rated Split Second 4.5 stars. I really like this series. I really recommend it. It doesn't have any swearing or anything in it, which is why I really love Casey West. Her YA stuff is completely clean. And then the last book I read this month, well, besides the second Mercurian book, that was really the last book I read this month, but I already talked about that. So, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. And let me just say, I did not know what the plot of this was before I went into it. I know Tom Sawyer and I know the Painting the Fence, but that happens within the first 20 pages. So after that, I had no idea what was going on in this book. And it was a boy book, which is not a bad thing. It was a very well written boy book. And so I gave it 4.25 stars because I am not a boy. So I don't really love the like swashbuckling adventure kind of a stuff, but that's just personal preference. But it was very well written. Mark Twain is a great author. Go figure. It's a classic. There is a very important thing that happens in this book. There is mentions of murder in here that you see, and I'm not going to tell you nothing else because it's a spoiler, but there is that in this book, and there is the N-word in here because it is a classical piece and they are in the South with slaves. But it is a good book. I do recommend it, especially if you are a boy. I totally forgot to do the gimmick that I try to do in each one of these videos where I stack the books up in the corner. I completely forgot. And with that, we have all the books that I read. How do I gesture to this? All the books that I read in October. I read so many more books than I thought I was going to read, actually. Oh, before we go, let me tell you my November TBR really quick. Here is my November TBR, and then these 2 books are holdover from my seasonal TBR, but they'll just be, I'll talk about them again because it was a while since I talked about them. I don't know if I even ever talked about my fall TBR on camera, actually. So these 2 are holdovers from my fall TBR. So we have The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin, and I actually was thinking about starting it and then I didn't, so it has a bookmark in it. We'll get to that eventually. And then I have The Unwedding by Ali Condi. I've read most of her books. I think there's 2 that I haven't read, including this one, and it is a thriller. And if I don't get to it this year, it's totally fine. I can read it next year. I'm not in like any hurry to read it. And then we have the books that I picked for November. One of them is an audiobook. I want to finish the City of Ember series because I think I started it last year and I just want to finish it, you know, before I grow tired of it or anything. I'm really liking the book so far, so I want to keep going while I still have them in my brain. So the last book, I don't remember what it's called, but it's the 4th book in the City of Ember series by someone. I'll put it on the screen. It is so interesting. I can't even tell you the premise because if I tell you, it'll spoil the first book, which I really recommend reading the first book. I really liked it. And then I also really liked the 3rd book. So you could just read the 1st book and the 3rd book if you didn't want to read the 2nd book. I liked the 2nd book. It wasn't my favorite, but I love the 1st and the 3rd. And I'm excited to read the 4th and see if I enjoy it as much as the other ones. And then I also got these 3 from my physical TBR. I don't want to put too many on my plate because I'm also trying to read War and Peace this month, which is a gigantic book. So I wanted to choose some easier books that aren't as hard to read. So we have Green Witch by Susan Cooper. I'm probably going to read this one as an audiobook because I've audiobooked all of them so far. I moderately liked the 1st book. I was so confused by the 2nd book, so I'm interested to see what I feel about the 3rd book. But it's really short. So that's the other reason why I put it on this TBR is because I wanted to knock out some of the shorter books so I don't have to have them keep repeating into next year. I want to get rid of some of these books before next year. I'm hoping to get through a lot of my seasonal TBR, which goes up to here on this pile. I have quite a lot of Christmassy books I'm really excited to read. Probably honestly starting by the end of this month, but I didn't want to like stress myself out by putting some on my TBR already. I can't even tell you what this book is about because I don't even know. I thought I knew what the series is about and now I have no idea. The 1st book was like, it was a treasure hunting book. So it had followed these kids who were trying to find, I think it was the chalice, whatever they're trying to find in Indiana Jones, the Ark of the Covenant. No. What's the cup? I don't don't know. They're trying to find the cup that's in Indiana Jones, but I also haven't seen Indiana Jones, so I could be wrong. And then the second book follows a completely bizarre, random, weird series of events that only made sense after you kept reading, and then it made no sense again, and then it didn't make sense, and then it made sense. It was the most weird thing I've read or listened to. So I only have 3 books left in the series, so I'm gonna finish it, but it was weird. So I don't know what this one's about. Oh, it follows the first kids again. What is this series? Then I have How to Stuff a Wild Zucchini by Heather Horrocks. Heather Horrocks. Have I said that earlier, didn't I? Oh no. I just realized why I said this earlier. That was the autumn collection that I read. I didn't like that short story. This might not be a very good book. Oh. Anyway, I picked this one up because it said zucchini and we're Thanksgiving, so food. This one is a clean book. I do know that. Oh, this might not be a very good book. I'm excited to read this though. I did not like that short story in that book in a bizarre way. It was so weirdly written, so I'm excited to read this and see how I feel about it. And then if I do like it, I like it, and if I don't, that's totally fine. It was from DI anyway. And then I have Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. I looked up to see if the other books are available as audiobooks, and they are. I can listen to those pretty much immediately after I finish this book, if I get to it this month, which is the only reason why I put it on my TBR, because I don't like to wait. If I'm getting interested in a series, I don't like to have to wait if I want to keep reading them, so I have the opportunity to keep listening to the series if I want to. But I read the first series, The Mortal Instruments. Everyone who's read that series knows why I'm saying that was a crazy series, and I don't know if I'm gonna like her books. But Destiny Sidwell also felt the same way about the first series, and she loved this one, so we'll see if I love it. And then yeah, the other one on my TBR this month is War and Peace, which is over there somewhere. Oh, it's holding up something over there because it's a giant brick of a book. I have read about 27 pages. Thank you. Thank you so much. It has been a struggle, to say the least. But we're getting there. We're getting there. And yeah, that is the end of my video for you guys today. I need to go lay down because I'm feeling sick and my body hurts. But it has been fun talking to you guys. I have been actually like really looking forward to filming this video. Number 1, because I have a tripod so I can do like different angles and stuff. Number 2, because I have this flashcard thing that takes my videos from my phone to my computer, so I don't have to wait 77 business days before I get it back onto my computer so I can edit it. I can do it immediately, and I'm so excited. Like actually so thrilled, because it means that I can have this video up soon. I'm filming this on like the 3rd day of November, and hopefully I can get this out before then. We'll see. I'm not gonna count my stars too early. It might be by like Thursday because I am sick, so we'll see how that goes. But I am excited that I have the ability to do this quicker now, and all I had to do was just shell out some money. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. I hopefully will do a reading vlog this month. We'll see. I'm also maybe going to be filming December stuff because I want to try to do bookmas again, but last year that was so hectic that like it took up my entire December, and I also have a lot of things I'm trying to crochet for Christmas, so we'll see. I might not end up doing like 12 days of consecutive Christmas. It might be every other day or something like that, but we'll see. Either way, I'll get some videos up in December as it is. I have a lot of things I'm very excited to film. So also my sweater is really reminding me of both candy canes because it has like, I don't even know what to call it, striped pattern, like candy cane pattern, but it also looks like that sweater that Belly wears in The Summer I Turned Pretty. I think it might just be the chevron that's reminding me of it, but it's also like thick and chunky. I really like the sweater. I found it at DI and I was very excited that I found it. I saw it and I was like, even if that doesn't fit me, I'm buying it. My sister will wear it. Someone will wear this sweater. It is so cute. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video at some point. Goodbye.